Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the 90s collection that's releasing from Virago Varnish this Friday, July 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. These were sent to me for review and I'll link her storefront and social media down below. This collection consists of 6 fall shade creams that are going to bring you all the way through the end of the summer and into the fall, so I'll go ahead and get right into it. First up is Screenname, and this is a deep mulberry raisin shade. It's almost that perfect lipstick color that everybody looked for in the 90s. Super appropriate for this collection. I do have some irregularities there in the bottle, but it applied beautifully like a dream. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot and show you how Screenname swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. With these creams from Virago Varnish, I generally try to go in for one careful coat. I feel like with a little bit of a thicker application, you can totally get away with just one coat for almost all of the creams that I've come across from Virago. This one is no exception. It just goes on really lovely, super smooth and easy. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry down and show you how it builds up for me in a second coat. I wanted to get a little bit closer to my cuticle line. You can also see that this one dries down completely matte. This is definitely one of my favorites from this collection. Even though it is a matte formula, you cannot tell by application at all. It just goes on so smooth and creamy. You can really kind of mess with it as much as you want to. It's not going to dry too quickly on you or anything like that. It also does a great job at self-leveling. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo once more with a glossy top coat underneath that same artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Props on the flat top, and this is such a wearable, flattering orange. It does have some clay or adobe tones in there, maybe a little bit toned down, and a super appropriate for fall. So I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and I'll show you how Props on the flat top swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Again, this one just goes on so smooth, so creamy, extremely opaque. If you're into stamping, these make perfect stamping polishes. They don't dry too quickly, and they are extremely pigmented. So that one careful coat does bring this one to full opacity. This one did dry down a little bit glossier than some of the others. I think it's really going to depend on the shade and the pigments used and how they dry down. So here's a look at that completed mani at just one coat before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo with a glossy top coat added, again under that same artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is bodysuits and combat boots, and this is definitely one of my favorites from this collection. The color is kind of like if pea soup green and mustardy yellow got together and made a gorgeous cream. That's a perfect description for this polish, very unique color. I'll go ahead and show you that brush shot, and I'll show you how bodysuits and combat boots swatched on my natural nail. So here is a look at that first coat. You can see from that first swipe how extremely pigmented and opaque this polish is. I didn't have any staining. I just used my Cutica strengthening base coat like I usually do. I didn't use a special stain blocking base coat or anything like that, but it is extremely pigmented and it is yellow, so you may want to be a little bit mindful of that. One coat almost made for complete coverage. I did have a little drag mark there towards my cuticle where I kept applying it after it was trying to dry, so I think with careful application, this is again totally a one coater, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to apply it in 2 easy coats for me. So here's a look at that second coat. It does bring this one to complete coverage. Here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. This is my swatch photo with a glossy top coat under that same lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is strap down overalls, and I'm sure that this is going to be a fan favorite. It is a very bright shade. I think it's going to be super appropriate for bringing us all the way through the rest of the summer and then into the beginning of fall. It is a very light, bright teal shade. I'll go ahead and show you a brush shot, and then I'll show you how strap down overalls swatched on my natural nail. So here again is a look at that first easy coat. This one is a no exception. It goes on super creamy. These are a little bit on the thicker side. I definitely do prefer my polishes to be kind of that formula. I feel like they're a little bit easier to work with. One coat made for complete opacity with no issues with self-leveling, drying down, or anything like that. So here's a look at that completed mani at just one coat before a glossy top coat. This is another one that dries down a little bit glossy, but I do recommend a nice glossy top coat to help extend the wear time. So this is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle. So next up is Beat Me 07734, and this is my #1 top pick. I know I have a lot of favorites from this collection, but this one is unlike anything else in my collection. It is pulling a little bit more blue here. I definitely do think it's more pigmented and green in person. It was really hard to photograph. Here's a quick look at that brush shot, and I'll show you how Beat Me swatched on my natural nail. So here is a look at that first coat. This one goes on just as smooth and easy as the others. It maybe wasn't completely opaque here. I do have a flash of nail line. I'm going to go ahead and complete this coat, let it dry, and then show you how it builds up with a second coat. This is so much deeper and more vibrant in person. I'm going to go ahead and show you how it builds up. Here's a look at that second coat. It does bring this one completely opaque. I did go in a little bit thicker here, but you don't necessarily need to. 2 coats. Quick dry time, it makes for a beautiful finish. This is another one that dries down fairly glossy as well. Of course, I do recommend a nice glossy top coat to help extend that wear time. Even though this is another super pigmented polish, I didn't have any staining. I don't have really porous nails. I usually don't stain a lot, but I always do wear a base coat. This is my swatch photo underneath artificial lighting, and then what's more, at an angle under that same lighting. So lastly today I have Grunge, and this is a deep purple polish with maybe some gray tones in there as well. Very beautiful and vibrant on the nail. Another perfect polish to bring us all the way through the end of the summer and in transition into the fall. So here's a quick look at that brush shot. It's definitely showing up a little bit lighter here on camera than it is in person. So here's a quick look at how Grunge applies in one easy coat. This is no exception to any of the Virago creams. This is completely opaque in just one careful thicker coat. If you do go in thinner, you may have some low spots that you need to go in and fill in with a second coat, but really it's no problem at all. These are such a dream to work with. So here's a look at that completed mani at just one coat before a glossy top coat. So this is another one that does dry down pretty matte. A good glossy top coat is going to cover that right up, though. I do honestly love the original finish. This is my swatch photo with a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting, and then once more at an angle under that same lighting. So that does wrap up my swatch and review of the 90s collection. I do have more photos on my blog over at sloppyswatches.com if you're interested in that. You can also follow me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.